The world is one vast, constantly moving machine. With almost 8 billion people living, working, and researching in it, a lot can happen all around us in a very small amount of time. But just how much can happen in a single minute? Well, the answer is pretty incredible, so let's get right into it. The clock is ticking. The human body. Let's start with something everybody has, a body. If you're an adult human, in the next 60 seconds, your heart is going to pump about 11.2 pints of blood around your body. At the same time, your kidneys will filter almost 7 tablespoons of blood. As your blood is being pumped, your body will create close to 140 million new red blood cells to transport oxygen and nutrients, while 7 million white blood cells will be created as part of your immune system. The hair on your head, assuming you have the average of 100,000 strands, will cumulatively grow 1 inch in that time. You'll blink around 15 to 20 times, and in those few blinks of an eye, you'll shed roughly 35,000 skin cells. During this time, your neurons will fire approximately 300 trillion times, and your brain will use approximately 1,200 joules in energy. That's about a third of a calorie. So in just one day, you can burn over 400 calories just by thinking. So if you think really hard, maybe you could count it as exercise. I'll leave that up to you. Body data processing. Our bodies are way more than just meat sacks that drive the brain around. We've also got a nervous system, a complex structure that transmits signals around different parts of the body. And because these signals are mostly electrical, they can be measured and tracked, making it possible to estimate how much data is handled by different body parts. For example, in the next 60 seconds, your eyes will transmit about 600 million bits of visual data to the brain. That's about a tenth of the amount of data you can fit in an old school CD-ROM. By that math, you could fill up 144 CDs with visual data in just one day. Returning to the 60-second limit, your skin transmits roughly 60 million bits of sensory data each minute, about the same amount of data as a song saved on your phone. Your hearing and smelling systems each convey 6 million bits of information per minute, which is roughly 750 kilobytes. That's enough data to stream 4 minutes of music on Spotify at a low quality level. On a free account. Who needs network providers to overcharge you for mobile data when you can just use your own nervous system? Now we just need to find a way to plug our phones in. Heartbeats. Now here's something you can actually feel in 60 seconds, your heartbeat. A healthy adult human's heart beats somewhere between 60 and 100 times a minute. But human hearts are just the tip of the iceberg. A small dog's heart, for example, will beat around 120 times a minute. A cat's heart beats around 160 times a minute, while a hamster's heart rate can be as high as 500 beats per minute. Bigger animals like horses can have heart rates as low as 36 beats per minute when resting and as high as 200 beats per minute when racing. Now let's get a little more exotic with the examples. What about an elephant's heart? These beat at an incredibly slow 30 beats per minute, but a blue whale's whopping 5-foot-long heart gets by on just 8 beats a minute. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have the hummingbird, capable of an incredible 1,200 beats per minute. But what's the reason for these extreme variations? Well, essentially, heart rates are dependent on the size of the heart. The smaller the heart, the less blood it can pump. So the volume of blood being pumped is compensated for by the rate of the heartbeat, which is why you don't see many humans with a heart rate of 1,200 vibrating down the street. Thank God. The Internet. The World Wide Web is another part of our world that's constantly ticking away, and the figures prove it. For example, in the next minute, 3.8 million searches will be typed into Google. In that same time, close to 188 million emails will be sent. But it's not all work. Mobile users trying to find love will swipe 1.6 million times on Tinder a minute, and people will be watching approximately 764,000 hours of content on Netflix. And seeing as $3.53 trillion was spent shopping online in 2019, when you break it down, that means we'll collectively spend about $6.7 million online in the next 60 seconds. And that number is only going to get bigger in the future, at least if my useless Amazon product addiction has anything to do with it. Social media. The way many of us connect nowadays is by social media. but how connected are we really? Around the world in the next 60 seconds, about 35 million Facebook messages will be sent, and over 1 million of them will contain an emoji. In the same time, more than 1,700 new Facebook Messenger group chats will be created, and close to 32,000 of the platform's video calls will connect people. And amongst all of that, Messenger will allow people to share around 400,000 photos, and it's likely that an ungodly amount of them will be memes. But if it's photos you want to share, you need to look at Instagram. With almost 70,000 posts and 3 million likes every 60 seconds, it's no wonder influencers flock to the app. The next minute, we'll see 350,000 Instagram stories created and viewed, and almost 27,000 heart emojis being commented in people's feeds. It's hardly surprising then that this platform is able to make approximately $38,000 in ad revenue every minute. Because if there's one thing people love to do, it's racking up invisible internet points. YouTube. The second biggest website in the world certainly achieves a lot in 60 seconds. With over 1 billion hours of video watched daily, about 700,000 hours of YouTube videos will be watched in the next minute. What's more, about 175,000 of those YouTube hours will be watched on TV screens. But it's not just about those watching. Every minute, roughly 500 hours of content are being uploaded to the platform, all for the entertainment of the 46,000 users who log into the site in that same time. But let's talk YouTube money, shall we? YouTube pays out more than $7.5 billion a year total to its content creators, which works out at around $14,000 a minute, which would certainly seem like a lot until you realize YouTube makes approximately $30,000 per minute in revenue. When you break it down like that, I think I deserve a raise. Consumerism. Big business requires a lot of manpower, so with all that power behind them, let's see what some of them can achieve in just 60 seconds. To be clear, most of these approximations are for Earth on a regular day, not during the global pandemic that's currently punching a hole in the world's economic data. With that aside, Amazon reported that its own courier network delivered 3.5 billion packages globally in 2019. With a bit of math, that means Amazon makes about 6,700 deliveries a minute. But what about other big business like McDonald's? In the next 60 seconds, almost 48,000 of their customers will be served. The company will generate about $40,000 in revenue, and over 1,000 Big Macs will be ordered. That said, Burger King claims to sell almost 4 times the Big Mac amount, with its Whoppers being ordered 4,000 times a minute. I don't know whose figures are more reliable, but it seems like there's a lot of beef there. But don't worry, you can wash it all down with one of the 1.25 million Coca-Cola servings that'll be drunk around the globe in the next 60 seconds. But be sure to recycle your bottle, because Coca-Cola admitted to producing 3.3 million tons of plastic packaging last year, equivalent to about 200,000 bottles a minute. Now there's a figure I'm sure they wish they could keep a lid on. Nature. Enough about business. Let's take a look outside. In the next 60 seconds, almost 190,000 tons of water will flow into the iconic basin of Niagara Falls. That's enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool 9 times over. That may seem like a lot, but it's nothing compared to the total amount of water that's evaporating into the air around the world every minute. That figure stands at approximately 1.02 billion tons of water per minute, or for the more visual among you, about 4,700 Amazon rivers simultaneously flowing up into the sky. But with that much water in the atmosphere, what does that mean for the weather? Over the next minute, it's going to help cause a few storms, of which there will be so many that lightning will strike the earth about 6,000 times. And that's not the only statistic proving the power of nature. At this very moment, there are at least 45 active volcanoes erupting all over the world. One of them, Mount Yasur, has been erupting constantly since 1774. I think we can safely assume it'll continue for the next 60 seconds at least. The universe. But time doesn't just start and stop with us on Earth. Let's take a look at what'll happen in the next 60 seconds in space. In the next minute, you're going to rotate almost 17 miles around the Earth's circumference. But as fast as that may seem, it's nothing compared to how quickly the Earth will move around the Sun. The Earth moves around the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour. meaning it will travel over 1,100 miles relative to the sun in the next minute alone. And faster still is the entire solar system's trajectory through the universe. Our solar system whirls at 490,000 miles per hour around the center of the galaxy, meaning relative to the galaxy's center, we travel over 8,000 miles per minute. So next time someone tries to tell you you're slow, remind them that you can move at 8,000 miles a minute without even breaking a sweat. They won't think you're a nerd. Probably.
Yes, that does make you a dork.
Mortality. Life and death are all part of the same universe-sized picture, and you can't have one without the other. But what are the numbers that decide whether we live or die? Well, for starters, in the next minute, about 83,000 people will be making love, though whether the intention is to create new life is sort of a case-by-case thing. That said, a good handful of them must be trying because around 255 babies are born each minute. On the other side of that spectrum, approximately 105 people will die in the next minute. About 18 of those will die from cancer. But it could always be worse because in the next 60 seconds, one person is likely to be murdered, and the US will also experience at least 2 violent crimes in that time. With all that to worry about, I wonder how many people will start locking their doors in the next minute. Money. Some say that money makes the world go round. So, with the world spinning so fast, let's take a look at money by the minute. Imagine you're an average American citizen. If you spread your annual income out across every minute of every day of the year, in the next 60 seconds you will earn approximately 12 cents. But if you were a citizen of Monaco, the country with the highest average income in the world, you'd be pulling in 35 cents. And if you were a citizen of the lowest average income country in the world, which is the Democratic Republic of Congo, you'd be looking at just 0.0009 cents. On the average Congo rate, you wouldn't even earn $1 until the 18.5-hour mark. So if these are the various earnings of the masses, then what do the richest people in the world earn in a minute? Microsoft's founder and once wealthiest man in the world, Bill Gates, is believed to earn an average of $6,200 every 60 seconds. Seems totally crazy, right? We'll get a load of this. Multi-billionaire and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos walks all over that figure by making approximately $149,000 a minute. For perspective, in one day this man makes enough to buy the world-famous $70 million Pink Star diamond 3 times over. Now that's a flex. Which of these statistics did you find most surprising? Did anything crazy happen to you in the last 60 seconds? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.